Almería, southern Spain. A light aircraft takes off from a small airfield. Nothing unusual about that, except that this airfield belongs to one of the most unusual residential estates in Spain, and one of the most exclusive. The estate, which lies in a long valley of great natural beauty, is not on the coast but a few kilometers inland, sheltered from the pressures of overpopulation and exploitation. It is green, fertile, and temperate all year round. There is no pollution. There is peace. The name of the Shangri-La, Cortijo Grande. Almería has one of the lowest rainfalls of the whole Mediterranean coast, but there are oases in the driest lands. The valley of Cortijo Grande is one of them. Greens of the golf course cradle the ancient center of this fortunate place. Cortijo Grande is private but not remote. You certainly need a car to get about higher than the land. The welcome sign stands at the entrance to this private world, a world from which you can see the glittering Mediterranean as you drive along the 22 kilometers of private road laid out by the management. In all, the estate covers more than 2,000 acres, and it's surrounded by another 100,000 acres of land, open for exploration or just to be looked at. The old farm buildings, a settlement in themselves, are preserved as the focus of the valley, as they have been for hundreds of years. They now house the offices, shops, and restaurant, as well as several small apartments, skillfully modernized from old cottages and stores. But most of the development in the valley is taking place around the slopes of the herb-scented hills, away from the Cortijo. And it's a measure of the scale of the place that, although there are nearly 200 homes dotted around, it still appears largely countryside. It's a far cry from the crowds of the coast. The province of Almería is in fact the northernmost part of the Costa del Sol. It's midway between Gibraltar and Alicante. Granada is about 3 hours' drive. The closest international airport is at the city of Almería. Cortijo Grande is roughly an hour's drive from there. By the new air taxi service, it's only a quarter of an hour. The place was conceived from the start as somewhere that the majority of owners would want to stay permanently. People have always chosen to live at Cortijo Grande. Some of these broken pieces of pottery predate the Christian era. Long before hands formed those vessels, Neolithic man had settled in Almería, in and around this valley, where people from another civilization still choose to live today. The surrounding mountains are full of caves, many yet to be explored, which yield evidence of Stone Age occupants. Later, much later, came the Arabs, or Moors. For a time, Christianity was replaced by a different faith. Ruins of mosques are in these hills. But now, in the 1980s, the valley of Cortijo Grande offers more than it ever has. More opportunities, more fun. Price Haynes and his daughter Rian have riding stables here. The horses are tough little Spanish mountain ponies, friendly and sure-footed. Lessons can be had, 1 or 2 hour treks, or expeditions into the hills that can last for a week or more. Every spring, a party rides from here to Granada over the Sierra Nevada to the west. Definitely not for beginners. Apart from the Welsh teas Mrs. Haynes serves up at the farmhouse, it's rather reminiscent of the Wild West. And that's not surprising, because Almería was chosen as the location for the Western films that were made in the 60s and 70s. And the reason? There are, on average, 322 sunny days a year in this little corner of Spain. It's what meteorologists call a microclimate, a freak geographical area where the weather's unusually stable and where winter is not unkind. But that doesn't mean it's arid. Almería is the only province in Europe to claim a desert, but Cortijo Grande is the oasis. The estate has its own reservoirs, and water is piped from the hills. There are also underground volcanic lakes, so the valley is highly fertile. Some of the irrigation system built by the Moors still functions, but the golf course has its own modern sprinklers, 800 of them to be exact. The estate is divided up into plots of land for sale. People can buy one and build for themselves, to their own design and at their own speed. There are also some apartments and terraced villas built by the estate, off-the-peg housing. But the quality of workmanship is strictly maintained. These terraces, giving directly onto the first fairway of the golf course, are snapped up as soon as they're on the market. Building is not a free-for-all. The management imposed strict conditions on height, design, and suitability of design, so that views enjoyed by the many will not be spoiled by the few. It's impossible to find a site in the valley without a fine outlook. Peaceful and uncluttered. There's a new block going up alongside the fairway now. A golfer's paradise, a walker's dream. Or you can just sit and look at it and enjoy the continuous warm sunlight. Building costs are low in Almería, lower than in any other part of the Spanish coast, and standards of workmanship are high. Luxury materials are used prices that won't touch the wall. There are, so the saying goes, two kinds of people in the world. Those who play golf and those who don't. And never the twain shall meet. At Cortijo Grande, they do. You don't have to play, but the temptation is overwhelming.
Very nice one.
There's not much one need say about the course, except that it's built to full international championship standard, is destined to become one of the great championship courses of Europe, and offers challenges and delights that both amateur and professional can relish. Oh yes, there's one thing we forgot. Along the fairways, around the greens, behind the tees, there are more than 6,000 orange trees in 16 different varieties, scenting the air along the way to the 18th hole.
Thanks very much.
Even losing can be a pleasure in such surroundings. The 19th hole. A golf club to which all owners and visitors to Cortijo Grande can belong. A pro shop and a clubhouse. First-class restaurant and bar where their missed putt of nines can be analysed and cheap, palatable local drinks sampled.
I've been up on the roof and everything, and
You play that much for 6 months.
Yes,
And I tried to poke it too, but we couldn't get in from the other side. It was nice.
And then because he didn't work because he was transferred. Very good.
The young, as well as the not-so-young, have their place at Cortijo Grande. It's a family settlement. Not surprising when many people decide to make it their principal home, staying at least 4 months of the year. This pleasant square is in the center of the estate, the old Cortijo itself. Here was the farmhouse, here the granary, here the wine-making equipment. The place had its own annual vintage. And here too, the old mule-powered olive press, now preserved as a centerpiece in the main courtyard of the farm. Its stone wheels no longer rumble, but the spirit of those distant days is lovingly preserved. There's a swimming pool open to all on the estate near the press. It's a quiet and pleasant spot, ideal for sunbathing, or a little pre-lunch reflection. The meal itself can be taken on the patio outside the Almenfara restaurant, a pleasant and sociable spot under the kindly shade of the pines. The food ranges from simple good cooking to haute cuisine, depending on time, appetite, and pocket. But none of it is expensive by our inflationary standards. It's like eating in a small and friendly village.
Yo voy a llamar al arquitecto que le ha hecho esta maravilla, casi me encanta, porque ese hombre no tiene idea.
There's a supermarket nearby where most essentials can be purchased.
Can I have some milk, please? Thank you.
Even some second-hand goods found under the orange trees.
How much are these?
25 cada una.
Right.
And again, it's cheap. Money here goes further than in most places. A peseta is still a good buy in terms of exchange. Also in the old Cortijo is an architect's office. Once you've chosen your site, there'll be help with the design of your house, finding a builder, and seeing it through to completion. You could have something like this, for instance. Though to be fair, it isn't at the cheapest end of the scale. Private swimming pools are plentiful. Many owners put the house up first and wait a while before adding the pool, incidentally adding greatly to the value of their property.
No gravel or salt on the road because the one goes. Meanwhile, the cars won't go fast this side of the road.
The valley of Cortijo Grande has been lived in for a long time, about 10,000 years, give or take a few centuries. The whole place has the mellowness that comes with age and old customs. New houses quickly blend in with the landscape and appear part of it. The management decided very early on to allow only limited development, far less than the Spanish authorities would permit, to make sure that every villa had a substantial piece of land around it. Privacy without isolation. Old houses remain too, cleverly modernized to keep their timeless feeling, to add richness to the landscape. The shooting school and club, another sport at Cortijo Grande.
Just one.
There are 12 stands in the 23 acres of the shooting club, already famous for the international competitions which regularly take place. The clay shooting facilities can simulate most kinds of game, in flight or on the ground. If you don't want to hear loud bangs, you won't. The club is in a small valley, away from the houses, so you only hear what you want to. The shooting club is about 3 kilometers from the center of the valley. 3 kilometers in the other direction is Ture, where every Friday Spain, the old Spain, is on colorful and noisy display. Just up the road is the larger market town of Vera. The other way lies Garucha, a seaside village where you can watch the fish being sold on the quayside and buy some if you like. Between Cortijo Grande and the coast lies Mojácar, an old Moorish town, once powerful, now more famous for its nightclubs than its caliphs. That's the place to live it up. Approaching the estate's private airstrip is one of the 2 light aircraft permanently based here. There's a fully qualified instructor if you'd like to learn to fly, or you can make use of the air taxi service to get to Madrid, Granada, or Timbuktu for that matter. With 7 people aboard, a flight to Cortijo Grande from, say, Almería costs less than a taxi. For those with their own planes, need we say more? When you've touched down, you can tank up without leaving the airfield. The airstrip is invisible and inaudible from the main valley. One advantage of living on an estate of this size is that there is room for different interests to be pursued without interfering with each other. It's a select development for like-minded people who are individuals. A comforting thought if you should ever want to sell your property. It's not meant for and won't attract the masses. Just by one of the greens, a new development is going up, called the Water Gardens, Jardines de Agua in Spanish. It'll be a group of villas centered around a large swimming pool, with several smaller pools dotted around, adding to the lush atmosphere. There'll be a clubhouse, seen here under construction, and the villas, 2 or 3 bedrooms, will have the same high standard of finish. Most of the builders live locally. Some have lived in the valley all their lives. The foreman of the estate, when it was a farm, is still foreman, as were his father and grandfather before him. The homes already built vary in style as their owners express their individuality. Some like to be near the golf course. Others prefer to look to the far distance where the sky and the sea meet. And when you can't be at Cortijo Grande, you can sleep soundly, knowing that the estate will look after your property and let it for you if you want some income. See, it's kept clean and in good repair. With all that taken care of, you can relax. Evening in the Almenthara bar. You don't have to leave the estate until you find company.
Lo mismo lo contratan después por ahí.
This is a fortunate place, favored by nature, chosen by man, tranquil, beautiful. Finally, if you thought we were fibbing about the climate, this film was made in the second week of December.